Hey everybody. I am your host, Cassie. You are watching In the Know on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Your co-host, my co-host Kim, she is still off on sick leave. She's resting up. She's doing a lot better. I want to thank you all for watching us. Um, Again, please like, follow, and subscribe. Today we are joined over the phone by Mr. Trudell Kennedy. Mr. Trudell Kennedy, he is a insurance instructor, and today we're going to talk insurance. Trudell, are you there?
I am here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I want you to just give my audience a introduction of you. Just give us an introduction.
Yeah, like she said, my name's Fidel Kennedy. I started off 13-year military veteran. Came back. I created a company called Alternative Benefit Solutions, which was a company geared toward teaching people health, life, property, and casualty insurance so they can be licensed with the state of Michigan, along with Alternative Veteran Solutions, which is a company that was geared toward helping military veterans find their benefits as well.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So, audience, today our goal is just to educate you on some of the basics of insurance. So, if you have any questions, please, comment on the link. Um, we are going to just start briefly on the basics of insurance. Trudell, I want to apologize for the audio. We were having some he was having some technical difficulties. So Trudell, tell us why would a person invest in a life insurance policy? What's the purpose of that? Why is it necessary for a person to invest in a life insurance policy?
Personally, for me, I think it's important for a person to invest in life insurance because, unfortunately, most of the time we inherit debt rather than wealth. So if you invest in a life insurance policy, whether or not it be a whole life, term, or universal product, it'll give your family in case or of an untimely death. But you need to know the difference between the difference in policies. So for me, when I talk about insurance, I look at the possibility of what can I leave my family. A lot of people look at it from the standpoint of why am I doing this? I'm not going to benefit from it, but your family will.
Okay.
That's why you should invest in insurance.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this. I know a lot of people are probably asking this question. Is everybody qualified to get life insurance? What are some of the criteria for being accepted into an insurance plan or policy?
There's a few barriers when you're talking about life insurance. Some of those barriers are health. So when you looking at life insurance, they look at things like blood pressure, diabetes. They look at whether or not you're on dialysis. These are some of the factors that can factor into how much they give you or whether or not they will give you any insurance at all.
Okay. What about things like a person's personal like driving record? What about something like that?
Your driving record can affect you to an extent. You got to keep in mind when you going into insurance, they're looking at whether or not if they're looking at your driving records, they may look and see whether or not how many tickets you have. Are you a reckless driver? Do you have DUIs? Things like that can factor in to your insurance.
Okay, that makes sense. So you mentioned a couple other different products when it comes to insurance: whole life, universal life, and term. Tell us about whole life, universal life, and term, and
Well,
which one do you think a person? Which one would you recommend a person have?
normally, most people, if they look at their policies, most people are sold a term life insurance policy. Like, say, for instance, if you have if your human resource department has given you a life insurance product, it's probably a term life product. Now, the term life product is something that you have to look at from the standpoint, is it a decreasing term or an increasing term? If it's a decreasing term, which most of them are, they're going to take you from a position where you think you have $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that term policy, say for instance, if you keep that same term policy to it matures,
Uh huh.
that term policy more than likely will be a $15,000 policy.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it decreases as time goes by. But if you live long enough, it won't be nothing. If you die, if you die early in life, then you can get the full value of it. So personally, I suggest if you have a term policy now, you should be looking into whether or not you can convert it to a universal or a whole life product.
Okay. So when you mention converting to a different type of policy, so with the term policy, say for example, if I had a term policy and then I got maybe a 20-year term and I'm on my 18th, 19th year, whatever it is. Are there going to be some stipulations to me converting this thing over into a universal or whole life policy?
It's possible that it can be some issues when you're trying to convert that later in the policy. Uh, Most of the time, if you already have a policy in place, you won't have to go through the physical because it's already an existing policy. You're converting it, but you may convert it from one company to another. So there can be stipulations within the companies to receive that policy or to convert that policy from a term to a whole life or a universal product.
Okay. So speaking of term, now I know you mentioned that if a person goes to the end of the term, there's not going to be any death benefit, right?
It depends on whether or not your term policy is a death benefit policy. If you buy it for that purpose, and you go to the end of that term, it may be just enough to bury you. What I'm saying to you is a term insurance policy normally has 10, 20, or 30-year term.
Okay.
But if it's a decreasing term, which most of them are, they lose value as you get older. So I wouldn't suggest it. And some people have like term life insurance policies on their kids. Now, this is beneficial for kids once they get of age to go to college or whatever. They can convert that into like a juvenile policy, like a jumping juvenile policy is what it's called.
Okay.
So the juvenile policy goes to the kid, and the kid can cash it out, or they can pick it up and turn it into a universal or whole life product if they that mature at that age, and then they can use it for college or whatever.
Okay.
So it's some term policies, in my opinion, when you're looking at juvenile policies on your kids, they can get that policy if they decide to go to college, and then that policy can turn into, a year or a semester or 2 semesters, 2 years, depending on how much that policy's value is.
Gotcha. So that was going to actually be my next question when it comes to term. So as far as cash value, I was under the impression that term policies really didn't have a lot of accumulation of anything. So they can like accumulate a cash value?
Well, sometimes in term, they got what's called return of premium.
Okay.
So if you're paying for a term policy and you live out the terms of that policy, or if you needed, in some cases, if you needed some money off of that policy before, they got what's called return of premium. They can return a certain portion of your premiums to pay you out, or so they won't have to pay you out at the end.
Okay. Gotcha. So, universal life. Tell us about universal life.
Now, your universal life, it's the same thing, but it matures. It both universal and whole life gets a cash value, and most of the time, in some cases, they're attached to the Nasdaq or the stock market or whatever. So in some cases, they can fluctuate as far as how fast they grow, or you can get locked in at a 4% interest rate or whatever as you pay your premiums. Both are, you can borrow money, you can take money out of it once it grows. You can take money off of it for certain things without penalty, some with penalty, some without, depending on what you want to take it out for.
Okay. So I'm just going to take a quick station ID. You're watching In the Know live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and other top social media outlets. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for watching In the Know on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Again, we are here with Treadell Kennedy. He is an insurance expert. He's here going over the basics of life insurance as well as some health insurance. And if you have questions, you can definitely leave some information on the link or on the link on the chat. Okay, Treadell. So, can you tell us tell us a little bit about who can insure a person? So, if I just want to insure my next door neighbor, am I allowed to insure my next door neighbor? What are the qualifications?
No, you wouldn't. You would have to have what's called an insurable interest.
Okay.
Now, insurable interest is when there could be a significant loss financially if that person were to pass away. It's called an insurable interest. Say, for instance, like if you were my employer or if I was your employer, I would have an insurable interest in you. So I could take a life insurance policy on you. You would know about it, but it's called a key employee policy.
Okay.
So I would have you insured, so if you were to pass, I wouldn't necessarily experience that loss wholeheartedly because it would be taken care of through insurance. So you have to have an insurable interest to have insurance on body.
Okay.
Spouses have insurable interest. Kids have insurable interest. Key employees or employers with key employees have insurable interest. You can't go out and just take insurance out on anybody.
Okay. So with that being said, I know there's different parts of, like the payer, the policy owner, the beneficiary. Tell us a little bit about what the owner of a policy is, what the beneficiary, Go ahead.
The owner of the policy is the person who purchases the policy. The beneficiary of the policy is the person who gets the monetary amount once a death occurs. That's the difference between the two. But the owner of the policy is the person who purchases the policy.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Tell us how the process works when a person has passed away and the family, they have to turn over the policy to the funeral home or for funeral services. Tell us how that process works.
Okay, first of all, let me make this point too, because it is really important,
Go ahead.
especially for a person who's purchasing insurance. A policy can be revocable or irrevocable, and it's important to know the difference between the two, because if it's revocable, that means it can be changed. Even if you have already signed your name on the dotted line, it can be changed, and somebody else who you didn't want to have that policy can come in and get it. So you have to know that, say, for instance, if you're married or if you remarry and you have a policy, you never change that policy, but for all practical purposes, everyone knows that, your new wife, you would want her to have that policy. So if you change that policy or if you don't change that policy, the first wife or the first person would still get that policy, even though it can be contested. Now, if you make it irrevocable, that means that you can't contest it. They're saying that this is what you wanted. This was your wishes. So a lot of people, when they look at insurance products, they just look at it and they say, well, I want this to go to so-and-so. Now, if you're married and you wanted it to go to your kids, she gets to change that if it's a revocable product, if it's a revocable policy. So you want to make sure that if you're doing insurance and if you're sure that's who you want it to go to, you make sure that you make it irrevocable. Whereas if they get somebody else in their life, they can't take that policy from you or take that policy and do something with it that you wouldn't want done.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So again, if a person passes away and that policy or that beneficiary goes to the funeral home and they present them with the policy, what's the
Hmm.
process of how does that work? How does that work
Normally,
exactly?
I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh no, you're
Normally, when it
fine.
goes to the funeral home is going to do a couple of things. They're going to say, well, okay, this policy has X amount of value. So then the next thing they're going to do, they're going to try to sell you the Cadillac package based upon how much money you have to spend in that policy. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to spend the entire policy for that purpose. You can take that policy and say, okay, we don't need the Cadillac package for $13,000. We're going to spend $5,000, and we're going to do it this way and itemize it based upon what you're willing to pay. So once that policy is paid out, the normally the funeral home is going to get paid first, and then
Okay.
the rest of those funds will be released to the family or whoever is the policy uh, who's designated to get the benefits.
Beneficiary. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Now, there's also a couple of jobs, and I don't. I know you got some questions that your callers may want to know about, but there's also different uh, organizations that may not even know that they could have insurance or members. Fraternal organizations, for example, and this is why I get so upset at times where with my Masonic brethren, and I hope there's some of them out there listening, because you got a lot of these lodges and just going out of business because they're not getting the members or the membership is dying off
Uh huh.
because it's a fraternal organization. They can insure their members.
Oh.
They already have members that's paying their dues or whatever,
Uh huh.
but you're not taking the time to insure your members. But you do everything else with the money, but you want to insure your members to ensure that you can go back into your community and create a Shriners Hospital if you want to. You can create better school systems based upon the sheer volume of people that has a Masonic designator that you can insure by being a fraternal organization.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. So, with that being said, that's deep there. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that if you are part, you said of fraternal organizations, that
Yes.
you have a insurable interest at that point.
Absolutely, because your dues is what's keeping that lodge going. Now, the smart way to do it, if it was me, if I had that kind of authority, if I was over a lodge, if I was the Grand Master or whatever it may be, I would simply do this for my members. I say, okay, it may cost you a little more dues, but the lodge will split a life insurance policy with your family in case you pass.
Mm-hmm.
So if you die, the lodge is going to get some money, and we're going to make sure your family is taken
It's
care of.
okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think I mentioned or asked you. So, where are you calling from? I want to know what lodge you're affiliated with.
Well, I was a part of Samuel T. Daniels 109 Maryland jurisdiction out of Mannheim, West Germany. So
Oh.
when I came back to the States, I came back to a place called Fort Hood, Texas. So when I got there, they wasn't doing the same kind of work in the community that we was doing, so it kind of turned me off. So I don't affiliate with any of the lodges in the state of Michigan, Texas, or any place. My
Okay.
lodge is still in Mannheim, West Germany.
Wow. Okay. 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 So, once a person has their policy established, if it's a universal whole life or a term, um, is a person allowed to sell the policy or give up the policy? I've heard of like different organizations that actually will buy a person's policy. What
Now,
is that process
I'm
called?
I'm I'm glad you asked that question because that's one of the jobs or one of the businesses that I'm intrigued by. They call them a viator. A viator comes in and they will buy your life insurance policy. Like, say, for instance, and you see the commercials on TV every now and then, we buy your life insurance policy so that you can spend your money while you're alive. So they'll come in and they'll give you 60% of your policy's value, then they'll take over the premium payments. They're banking on one thing that's almost, not even almost, this is a guarantee. They're banking on the fact that you're going to die. We haven't seen anybody get out of life alive yet.
Yeah.
So they're saying to you, we're going to give you $30,000 for your $150,000 policy, and we're going to take over the premiums, and you and your wife, y'all can do a wonderful vacation that you always dreamed of. And that's how they get you.
So you think that's not a good practice?
Well, I'm not going to say it's not a good practice, because you have to make a choice. And in insurance, there has to be an offer and there has to be an acceptance. I'm offering you to buy your policy. You don't have to accept it. So is it a good practice? If you're on the end where you're getting the money, yeah.
Okay.
If you're getting that policy, yeah. If you need that money, yeah. If you don't need it and you take it and you look back at it after you do it, it's not so good. But if you have the money to buy that policy as a viator, and you say, okay, here's your money, I got this policy, I'm giving you money right now that you don't have that you need.
Wow.
And you're taking it. There's
Yeah.
an offer and acceptance. Now, here's the key thing a lot of people don't talk about anymore. If I did this policy and I wasn't in my right mind, I was on this medication, that's not a valid policy. If you was drunk, that's not a valid policy. But if you take it and you spend that money and you can't spend that $30,000 back, guess what? You lose that policy.
Okay.
There has to be an offer. There has to be an acceptance.
Gotcha. Is there a limit?
I surely hate that I'm not on TV right now, because I'm kind of really passionate about some of this stuff, as you can see. And I would love to see your lovely face as we talk.
Oh,
so.
thank you. I hate you not here too. But we're going to make it do what it do. You know how we do. We're going to make it do what it do.
Baby.
So is there a limit to the amount of insurance that a person can have? Can you have 10 policies?
It's all about what you can afford.
Okay.
It's all about what you can afford. If you can afford to pay for $1 million policy and it's costing you $300 or $400 a month, then you can afford it. You can buy it.
Okay.
If you can't, then they got a barrel policy for you that you can afford for $25.99. So don't get in over your head and throw away no money.
Yeah.
You can't afford it the next month and it get canceled, then you looking real crazy by then.
Absolutely. So,
but it has happened, though. Trust me,
I'm sure. That's why so many people pass the hat around. I'm sure at some point, many people have had a policy and they've let it lapse. So, I'm sure it happens often.
All the time, trust me. There's a few things that always goes to the wayside when you get in a pinch. Insurance. Car insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance, and definitely life insurance. Them things is going by the wayside when you get the pinch.
Yeah. Okay, so for those that, are not in that pinch and they just want to buy up on a policy, because I've seen that too, or I've heard of that too, what's the process of buying up on a policy? Basically just paying cash for, your policy without having any more premium payments for that policy.
Well, you're looking into a gray area now, because they changed the rules for that some years back, right before Walter Payton passed.
Okay.
So the reason they changed it, because they were like, we'll take the money up front. Come on, all we can get. Insurance companies was trying to gouge you and say, okay, you give us $500,000 and we're going to give you $2 million worth of coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So a gentleman who could afford that kind of coverage by the name of Walter Payton said, okay, I want a policy for every one of my kids so that they get $1 million. And they were like, come on, Mr. Payton, come on, we gonna get it. We know you got the money, you good. They thinking he the healthiest man in the world because he played football. They even excluded the physical.
Oh, wow.
And he bought all these policies up, paid it all up front. He ain't no more money got it. Then he died of cancer. And they had to pay these policies out. They wanted to fight him. They said, no, we were hoodwinked. No, you sold it to him.
Mm-hmm.
And you excluded the physical.
Wow.
So he hit him hard, so they had to change the laws. They said, well, no, we can't take no hits like that. But the reality, they can. Insurance companies can. You very rarely see insurance company go under.
Yeah.
You may see one get bought out, but you very rarely see them go under.
So what protects them? What protects them from that?
Well, I mean, what protects them is the law of large numbers. That's what protects them. Now, I'm going to go into that a little bit. I know you know insurance a little bit or a lot. Where did you go to school at?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a licensed insurance agent, and this was my instructor. I went through his training course in 2007. And I got my life.
She making that bread, y'all. She making that bread.
Stop telling my business. So I have my life insurance, health, and my property and casualty insurance. I'm working on my adjuster's license too. But I went through his class. It was in 2007.
Sometimes the student becomes the teacher. Sometimes you understand me. Sometimes the student becomes the teacher. She done sold me some insurance. I said, boy, you bad girl.
Yeah, he is one of my clients.
No, I'm the client.
Yeah.
Hey, that's I gotta take me another hit of this Remy Tourette over here.
I know that's right. I ain't mad at you. Toast to you. Toast to you.
Toast to you.
So it's this insurance thing is very it's a good business, and it's just, and I don't know if you remember. Do you remember why I got into the insurance business? Do you remember what I told you?
Well, we talked about a lot during that time frame, but
the reason I actually got into insurance, because my husband at the time, he had a policy, a health insurance policy, and he had a really bad injury. So I looked at the policy, and it said that he had like $1 million limit on his healthcare coverage. So all the stuff he was going through, it wasn't going to be long before he got to that $1 million. So I started doing some research. He was going to
exhaust that policy.
Yes, he definitely was going to exhaust, at least probably within the first 6 months. But I took the class, and I learned a lot. And I've been into insurance ever since 2007.
Yeah.
2007.
So,
yep. And guy was my instructor.
That's an impactful statement, boy. See, that just made my heart bubble over.
Look, we got a caller here. We'll see how this gonna work. We got us a caller. Let's see what's going on here. I don't think we can do 2 calls, but anyways, let's keep on talking. Okay, so you said there's no limit. You were talking about Walter Payton.
Yeah.
So he changed the game.
He changed the game. He changed the game because, first of all, you asked the question before, how much insurance can you buy? It ain't necessarily how much you can buy, it's how much you can afford.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can afford it, you can do it. Just like he did it, they put some buffers in place to be like, okay, now we can't get hit like that no more. And then you ask the question of, well, why don't insurance companies go out of business? Why do they stay? And I stated it's the law of the large numbers.
Yeah.
So let me go back to that and explain that.
Okay.
Insurance is a thing, whereas if I come into your employer, I'm going to try to get every one of your employees to be insured by me. So if I get all of General Motors under my policy, the law of large numbers is all of you ain't going to die at one time. So as your premiums are paid, and some of you start to die out, the premiums that's going in is going to take care of what you're owed. So the law of large numbers say I will never have a catastrophic mass death where all of you die at one time. So therefore, I'm always making money. Residual dollars is always coming in to support the company, whether it be AAA, whether it be life insurance or whatever it is. It's always going to be a premium being paid to make sure that you're going to be paid out.
Gotcha. I'm going to take a quick station ID. You are watching In the Know live on WJZZ Cool TV. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and other top social media networks. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. We are here. We are here again with Mr. Tredell Kennedy. He is a insurance instructor. He served some time in the military, and he is very well versed when it comes to insurance. I want to ask you this question because I know this comes up a lot. So, when a person gets a policy, does that mean, okay, so if I get a policy today and something happens to me next week, will my policy be paid off?
They do have a contestability period in policies, but once that policy is issued and it's gone through, and it's gone through in the, oh man, I just got a brain lock. I can't get it out. But anyway, once your policy is approved and issued, that policy is in full effect.
Okay.
Now, saying that, most policies have a contestability period for certain things. Like, say, for instance, if you say, oh, I'm completely healthy, they do a background check, and when your medical stuff come in, they find out you got cancer. Then they're going to contest that policy because they're going to say, well, you lied.
Okay.
So this policy is no good. We're going to return your premiums. That's a no-no.
Okay.
So then they can say, no, we're not going to honor that. And they're well within their rights to do it if you hide something. If you say, well, I'm not a smoker, and then you get up on, they look through your history, your background, they get on your social media, and they see you smoking blunts and all of that. Now, you done messed up because you just said you ain't policy. Now, you're gonna kill your own policy. So if you out there on social media and you getting into this insurance game, you got to be careful, because if you jump into it and you say, okay, this is what's going on, you can run into some problems.
Gotcha.
And they can cancel that policy. That's a couple of ways that you can mess yourself up. Now, some people get insurance policies, and let me know if I'm going a little too long.
No. You're perfectly fine.
Because this needs to be stated as well. There is a contestability for suicide, or if somebody kills themselves in a policy. Normally, it's about 2 years.
Okay.
I have seen the longest I ever saw was 3 years. That's the contestability period. So if you have an insurance policy and you go past that 2-year threshold, or whatever is stated in your policy, and you commit suicide, at that point, when you commit suicide, your policy is good if it's beyond that threshold, that 2 or 3 year threshold. But if you do it prior to that, your policy is void.
Wow. Okay. So we're in the state of Michigan. So if we get a policy in the state of Michigan, are all policies going to be created equally, basically? So a 2-year threshold for suicide, a 2-year contestability period. What about those types of things? Or are all policies created equal?
Well, no. Every policy is based upon whatever company you're with.
Okay.
Now, you got a gentleman by the name, he's the commissioner of insurance for your state. Now, if you feel like there's something within a policy that's not fair to you, then you can call your insurance commissioner or whatever, and he'll look at that policy and he'll say, no, this isn't fair. The case in point with auto insurance in the state of Michigan, we had the auto insurance. We were paying the highest premiums in the state. We were paying the highest premiums in the state of Michigan, not the state of Michigan, in the U.S.
In the
today.
country, yeah.
So we was complaining. So the insurance commissioner, for the longest, he wouldn't change it. But he got so many people to start complaining. They said, "Okay, we got to do something about this. People are paying a house note
On
to pay insurance on cars."
Yes.
So
yes.
it changed it. So they changed that law. So a squeaky wheel sometimes does get oiled.
And one thing that really got me when it came to the auto insurance, it was basically what do they call it? Basically, if your zip code was Detroit or if your zip code was Flint, you paying higher premiums. I know a lot of people that used to use other people. Go ahead.
That's actually illegal.
Yes, I know it's illegal now. It was illegal now with the new law, but it wasn't illegal before.
Under the old law. It was illegal. They call that redlining.
Okay.
Redlining is illegal, but you have to prove it, or you have to know and understand that it's illegal before you can call somebody out on it.
Okay.
Now, here's something that you didn't know. Now, I hope your audience is smart enough to get a pen out and write this down. You understand me? Because I'm about to drop a jewel on them right now. Some of you people out there in the listening world is out there listening to a powerful, impactful conversation with this very strong woman and me. I hope you can consider me a strong man. And you say, okay, I better write some of this down because it's important. I pray that you write this down if you haven't wrote down anything else. They got a thing on your auto insurance policy called PIP. P-I-P. That's personal injury protection. P-I-P. PIP. Now, why did I say that to you? Some of these listeners out here are on Social Security. They're not working anymore. Do you know you're paying something that you will never use if you're paying for PIP? So if you're collecting Social Security, or if you're if you're retired and you're not working anymore, and you're paying for personal injury protection, which is probably 60 to 70% of your policy value cost, you're robbing yourself because you're paying for something you will never use because you don't work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Check this out. I put storage on one of my cars, right?
You did what?
I put storage. I got two cars, two vehicles.
Okay.
I put storage on one, full coverage on both.
Uh-huh.
Made sure they took the PIP off. My policy went from $400 to $30 a month.
No way.
Yes, way.
So, so basically, you're saying if a person is disabled on this, tell us that again. I want everybody to get this.
If a person is no longer working or collecting insurance in the state of Michigan, whereas before, when we were under no-fault state laws and rules or whatever,
yes,
you could not, and I repeat, you could not take PIP off your policy, even though you're telling them, you will never pay me. If I have an accident, personal injury protection covers my salary. I'm not going to lose a financial loss if I have an accident and can't go to work because I don't work.
Exactly.
So why am I paying for PIP? They said, well, in the state of Michigan, you got to have PIP. So now, for the first time ever, you can decline PIP because you're never going to use it. You're never going to get paid for it.
Gotcha.
Isn't that the most insane thing in the world? And PIP happens to be 60 to 70% of your policy that you will never use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely deep.
Somebody preaching up in here.
Come on, somebody. And I did hear that there was supposed to be some sort of refund with the new law that got passed for the state of Michigan. So I think it said that people that have full coverage, they'd be receiving X amount of dollars, probably the next couple months.
I don't know how much, but that should be coming out shortly. Yeah,
but when you talk about the redlining with the PNC, with the auto insurance, I know that they put in specific laws this time with the recent law that went into effect in July they put in specific laws that they can't judge you or can't rate you by your zip code, by your sex, by your marriage status. These are all of the things that they did prior, to this law being passed. So definitely, if you're with an insurance company, because I actually just checked the rates on on my vehicle, and they asked me like, "Are you married? Are you this? Are you that?" And I was like saying to myself, "Why are they asking me these things?" Because I know it's illegal now for you to be rated on these things. So definitely,
Well,
if you want to, go ahead.
Check it out. They gonna know anyway, right? Because when they run you, like say for instance, if you got a kid in your house that's of age to drive, or you might have allowed somebody to stay in your house before, right? And they may have one of the worst driving records ever. Guess what? It's going to affect you.
Well, actually, now I've had a couple situations. My daughter, she's 19 now. I think I told you she done wrecked about 3-4 cars now. She on about her 5th car since the 11th grade or whatever. But I was really surprised that that didn't happen to me. But she wrecked like 3 cars when she was at my house, and I was told by my insurance company that, well, the second time they was like, you need to add her. But the first time they was like, if she lives in your household, you allowed her to use the car's in my name, she wrecked the car, then the car is still insured. And they actually they paid me out 2 times on a total loss.
Right. I mean, I'm saying they are going to pay you out. I'm not suggesting that at all. They're going to pay you out. But this is what happened to me. This is
what happened to you? What happened to you?
This is my experience. But keep in mind now, my experience was prior to the new changes, right? So I had, I'm just going for the sake of the conversation because I ain't going to put him out there like that. He's probably listening to this show. But anyway, he going to know I'm talking about him, but I'm not going to put him out there like that. But a friend was staying at my house, and he used my address as his address. Like, I live here now. Now, keep in mind, I don't know his driving record, but when I went to change from USAA or went to change to USAA.
Now, what's USAA? What's USAA?
USAA is for military veterans. If you're
so
a military
did you
veteran
get a good
who's
discount?
honorably discharged, you can get USAA, or if you got a family member that's ever been a veteran, you can get USAA.
So when you say family member, how long do that line go? Cousin, sister, brother, what?
I think it's like immediate family, like brothers, sisters, mother, father, things of that nature. Kids, your kids can do it, your kids can do it. But normally USA, Navy, Federal, most of them organizations like that, they're pretty much better than most when it comes to cost, as much as the policy might cost.
Okay.
But anyway, my friend came to stay with me. He used my address. Lo and behold, he had 3 DUIs. So when I went to get insurance, they said to me, you are in a higher risk category because you have XYZ in your house, and this is their driving record.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Probably because of what I just said. Because when you live in a household, you can use they can use your vehicle, and your insurance company is supposed to cover whoever lives in your household. So they're gonna cover them. They're gonna cover them, but in some instances, when you go to renew your policy because they're in your house, they can say, well, you have you got someone in your house that had 3 DUIs, and are they driving your vehicle? They're gonna ask you that question. Yeah. Wow. So you got to be careful, not just who you let drive your car, but who you let live in your house. Because you never want another person's history to become part of yours. Okay, I have a question now. Okay, so insurance policy, I had a caller text me. So insurance policy is considered a piece of property, right?
What do you mean a piece of property?
Okay,
Say that
so
again.
okay, so I'm saying a insurance policy is considered a piece of property. In doing,
I guess if you want to look at it like
Yeah.
that, because it can be sold.
Yes,
I guess
absolutely.
you can look at it like that.
So in doing
Yeah.
business, all that I've done, I've had to I've come across people, and like if they were trying to get benefits from Medicare, Medicaid, not Medicare, but Medicaid, they would, like, once they went into like a nursing facility, they would list like the insurance policy as an asset, right?
Yes.
So
Now the key thing with what you just said, and I'm going to ask you a question. Why would they consider that an asset?
Say that again.
Why would they consider it an asset?
Because you could very well have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on your whole life or universal life policy, right?
Absolutely.
So that's why they consider that an asset.
Yeah. So why would they even be interested in that? I'm curious to know if you know.
Because, like, once you're going through the nursing home process, or once you're trying to get low income subsidies or whatever, you go through the spin down process. So they basically say you can have one car, one house, your bank account has to be under X amount of dollars. So when you tell them you had that life insurance policy, they want you to give them some information on how that policy, what's the value of that policy.
Yeah,
So,
because they're looking at it as, well, we're going to get some of that.
Exactly. Or we're not going to have to give you all these extra benefits. So,
Right.
My question is, and I hope you know this one, but what happens if a person files a policy under a bankruptcy?
Files a life insurance policy under a bankruptcy?
Yes, I know a person that actually filed I wrote the life insurance policy myself, and then they filed it under a bankruptcy.
So they filed, I'm trying to make sure I heard you correctly. You said they listed the life insurance policy under the bankruptcy.
Yes,
in
they
the
did.
bankruptcy as a debtor.
Yep.
That's like a bill that they have to pay.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So the bank, the judge in that instance probably is going to say, hey, it ain't no money right now. It'll be some in the future, but you can't go after it. Leave it alone. It ain't even worth it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to do one quick station ID. Jadelle, we got about 5 minutes left. I want you to tell us about your organization and what you do for the veterans out there in Flint. And we'll just, talk a little bit more. Give me 1 second. You are watching In the Know live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and other top social media outlets. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for watching In the Know on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Okay, we are here again with Tredell Kennedy, a insurance expert, a veteran. Tredell, tell us a little bit about what you're doing out there in Flint for the veterans.
I sure will. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me on the show, and it just warmed my heart when you told them where you went to school at and how you fired off the answer on that last question I asked you. I was just amazed right there. I was just shocked. I felt like Stephen A. Smith for a minute. I almost broke down in tears. But that was a special moment for me. That was a special moment. But what I do in Flint, Alternative Veteran Solutions, is a company that's geared toward helping military veterans find his benefits. So what we did was, before the pandemic started, we was hosting the stand downs in Genesee County. And a stand down is an event where veterans can come in. We give them clothing, food. We have all the different vendors there for jobs, for them to get their DD Form 214, which is the military record, so that they can go in and apply for these benefits.
So the
and
DD,
then,
you said,
instance,
what
DD
was that form again?
214.
Okay.
It's a DD Form 214. So that's going to let us know whether or not you were honorably discharged or whatever. Now, some people that was in the military, and I'm trying to fit a lot of stuff into a short time, So a lot of people that were in the military, they may have gotten out and had a P3 or P2 profile. That P2 or P3 profile was an injury that you served while you was in the service. But when you got out, you were like, just the hell with it. I just want to get out. That P2 or P3 profile that may have gotten worse over time turns into money. It turns into a rating. So if you have a 10%, 20%, or a 30% rating, that ends up being dollars. So if you had a P3 profile and they said, well, you can't walk no more, you got to get out of the military, and they put you out of the military with an honorable discharge. But when you went through ACAP while you was in the military, they didn't say, well, you need to go down to the Department of Veteran Affairs and sign up and say, hey, this leg is bad. I need to file a claim against the Army, because the Army is obligated to send you back home the way you left. So that need that you had that you wasn't getting paid for now is at 40%. Now you're getting about $800 to $1,000 a month for that leg. Now, unfortunately, that leg probably can make you have back problems. So now you got to go in and connect your knee to the problems you're having with your back because you haven't been walking right.
Yeah.
Now that may put you to 70 to 100%. So once you hit that 70 to 100%, and they telling you can't work no more, I ain't never knew no company that hire a half a person. Have you?
No.
I haven't either. So that means you're unemployable. So now the military got this thing called unemployability. So you can go to www.va.gov and look up an unemployability form. I'm going to say that one more time.
Say it again.
You can go to www.gov, va.gov, and pull up an unemployability form.
So where can they where can they find you if they want to continue this discussion with you or want to just, reach out to you about some of the things that you're doing out there in the community? Where can they find you at?
Well, you can find me at, I'll give
Come
you
on
my
now.
number.
Where we going to find you at?
www.alt, A-L-T, vet, V-E-T, soul.
Okay, tell us one more time.
www.alt, A-L-T, vet, V-E-T, .soul.
Okay, wonderful.
So when you're doing it, and I know I'm short on time, that's your cue to tell me to shut up.
We got a couple minutes. We got a second left. We got a second.
No, that's enough. But, I want to thank all the veterans that's out there listening. I hope you do take the time to get in touch with me and gain a little bit of knowledge.
I'll definitely post your information. I'll get it, and I'll post it on the link for everybody to get it. But, Tredell, it was a pleasure having you on the show. It's always good to hear from you. We're going to have to get together and go up to Jupiter again. And
oh, man. What a trip. For those of you who haven't been to Jupiter, be careful.
I want to thank everybody for watching In the Know Live on WJZZ Cool TV. I will see you guys next week on Friday at 6 p.m. where I will have another exciting guest. I'm definitely going to have this information for everybody to view. Thank you so much. Thanks, Tredell.
Thank you, and God bless.
Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll talk to you in a second. I think we're still on, but we shouldn't be. So anyway, you guys check me out next weekend. I'm going to have a really, really exciting guest. I still want you all to give me information on ideas and thoughts. If someone wants to come and co-host with me, you're more than welcome to give me send me a messenger, and I'll reach back out to you. It's a pleasure having you guys as viewers, and have a great weekend, everybody. Check out the stuff that's going on in the city this weekend. They have a lot of stuff going on at Valladay Park for the next couple weekends here in Detroit. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm out of here.